Welcome back to the
Oh,
show, Travis.
thank you for having me, JD. How have you
What's
been,
this?
man?
Good. Is this your third time?
Shit, is it 3 or 4?
It's got to
I
be at least three
I
because
think so. It's
you know
it's at
what's
least 3. It could be 4.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forget if you did a panel one or not.
I didn't do a panel, no.
Okay, then yeah, it must be three or four. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, how you been?
Man, I've been good. I've been a little stressed though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna bullshit you. Like, between recovery coaching and parenting, man, it's a lot. It's a lot of shit. So, I mean,
So
good
you're
stuff, but
you're a
dude,
recovery coach now.
yeah, yeah. Since last February.
How's that going?
Uh, Dude, like I said, it's very rewarding, but also can be really stressful. Cause trying to manage your shit on top of helping other people like break down barriers and just with whatever they're going through, you never really know what you're gonna get out of a day. So like yesterday, I was flying high. I'm like, dude, I'm checking shit off my list, and then I got a call from someone I work with, and they're just like, "Look, man, I need time with you," and it just changed the whole course of my day. Not necessarily for the worst, but just changed it up completely. And I mean, I finally wrapped at like 9:30 last night, and my brain was just mush.
Yeah,
It's like, what do you do? You know, I mean, you've got to help people when you can help them. So yeah.
yeah. My brain is mush by the end of the day whenever I work because I'm on the phones for 11 and a half hours a day.
Oh, dude,
Well,
brutal.
technically 10 hours. I get an hour and a half long lunch break to attend NA at noon.
Okay.
They give me a chance to take a long break so that I can do NA. So I work
Gotcha.
an extra hour and a half or an extra hour to make up for that. So I'm on the phones for 10 hours, but during NA, I'm either facilitating or I'm speaking. You know what I mean? Like I'm constantly talking throughout the day.
Yep.
So when like 6:30, 7 o'clock rolls around, I'm spent on having a conversation. And it's definitely caused some like friction with my wife because she's like, "You never talk anymore." I'm like,
Dude,
I
I get
talk
it.
all day, and it's really hard for me to like get it going again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. See, and I wonder on my end too, sometimes with from my brain injury, I wonder if I'm running into just some like general brain fatigue too. Because I just feel like there's days where then like I'll have a really intense day and the next day I'll get up and I'll just be in a cloud. It's almost like when I used to take trazodone to sleep. Like I try to get up, try to get moving, and it's just like I can't kick it. And I don't know what that is.
Trazodone was awful, man. I hated that shit.
Oh, dude, me too. Me
Like it
too.
made me feel hungover in the morning.
Exactly. Yup. And then you're pounding caffeine just to try to kick that.
Yeah,
And yeah, it puts you off on the wrong foot.
I use olanzapine now.
Okay.
They tried Seroquel that put me in a hospital. It raised my heart rate up to like 180 beats per minute.
Oh,
So the exact opposite of what it should do. I tried Ambien. That shit didn't work for me.
no.
Trazodone, I just outright refused to try it again because I tried it in rehab and I didn't like being in rehab feeling hungover. I take melatonin, I take Benadryl, and I take olanzapine, and that little cocktail helps me to go to sleep.
Nice.
But I mean, I've been dealing with severe insomnia for years, and I always medicated that with like Xanax or Perks. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's how I slept for years, and I would have bad sleep apnea. Now that I'm clean and sober, I don't have sleep apnea anymore. Who would have thought?
Holy shit. That's cool.
Yeah,
Congratulations, man. I mean, that's a big thing to kick. One of my roommates in college had that. And the poor guy, dude, I felt for him. He'd wake up and it sounded like he was literally choking. And it was like, bro, are you, and he'd wake up like 10, 15, 20 times a night like that. And I'm like, how do you ever feel rested? How do you, I felt for him. It's a
yeah,
shitty situation. So
yeah, yeah. They tested me, and it didn't come back. It just came back that I have severe insomnia. So
really,
because I
okay,
had trouble falling asleep, but not staying asleep. If
gotcha.
I had sleep apnea, it would be that I would have trouble staying asleep once I fell asleep. I would wake up throughout the night, but I don't wake up throughout the night.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
do.
I just have a lot of trouble falling asleep. Um, and waking up, I have a little tough time in the morning because I'm up by 6:30, and sometimes it takes me to hit my snooze alarm till 6:50, 6:55. And luckily I work from home, so I roll out of bed and I clock in and I start my day. Um, I do my podcast and I work out of my office. So I have this whole room dedicated. You can see all the stuff I hung up. That's all my stuff in my walls and decorated it for me. It's my personal room, which is cool. So I got a little shrine over there from my dad who passed last year, with
Yep.
his ashes and a bunch of stuff that was in his office that I put in my office. I have his watch I'm looking at that he was wearing during the viewing,
Wow.
and I got that sitting on top of his ashes. He wrote me a note when he had a ventilator in, 3 days before he passed.
Okay.
And so I hung that up and framed it and hung that up over there. So I got a little area dedicated to my dad. There's still stuff I want to do. I got all my hats and jerseys hung up. I got about a dozen random hats, even though I
Nice.
don't even wear hats.
Yeah.
It's just something I started collecting. Um, But how's your book going? For those who don't know, Travis has a book, My Life with Karma, which is awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you, bro. The book, it's slowed down a fair amount. I'm not marketing it as much, just because of time. I mean, I'm still pushing out copies, still donating a ridiculous amount, which is cool. Just because it reaches that way across the U.S. and even beyond. Um, but really, man, with the book, it's been a lot of push from outside sources to write another one. And dude, this I'm gonna have a candid conversation with you right now. I don't have it in me at this point in time. I mean, with my life with karma, that was literally 35 years of my life that it took to write that book. It's like I've only lived another five. I don't have a second book lined up right now.
Yeah,
But I do have another story that I'm working on telling, which is the true story of a Latin king and his life, growing up in gang life and being one of the founding members of the Latin Kings in Chicago. So that's going to be my next book.
that would be awesome.
Thank you, man.
Do you have
I'm
like somebody that you're like talking to and interviewing to like get like talking points?
Yeah, so I've been working with him for almost 2 years. The problem that we run into is what we can safely disclose for like him, his family, and then also I have to look at statute of limitations a lot and just kind of see because a lot of the stuff he's told me is incredible for content, but I'm not sure I can use it because it's like, man, that could put you at risk, that could put your family at risk, that could open you up to further legal issue. Like, there's a lot of shit that I'm like, that's where I'm running into hurdles.
Yeah,
So,
I got to watch myself too with what I say on here to make sure I'm not incriminating myself.
right,
Um, the other day, and I kept it in because it's been over 10 years now, but I talked about falsifying a police report.
okay,
And I was like, should I not have said that? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, no, I get it.
And I didn't edit it out. I kept it in. I was like, fuck it. Like, it is what it is. It's been over
Yeah,
10 years. It was a different state. And I don't have that much of a reach audience wise to where and I didn't mention where it happened. I lived in 5 different states and I moved over 30 times in 10 years. So, really, to pinpoint where I did this would take a lot of, you know what I mean?
that would take a lot of manpower and a lot of effort. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Especially it's been over 10 years. So I feel a little bit better about because I questioned myself, like, you idiot. Wow. And now I'm talking about it again.
yeah,
But I'm not as worried about it because it could have happened anywhere at any time. But all I know is it was definitely over 10 years ago. Um, and I haven't made those amends yet for the person that I robbed. I
okay.
need to make those amends eventually, if I could even find their number. Um, That's what I did. I stole a bunch of shit from my roommate and sold it, and
Okay.
then I called in a police report saying that we got robbed.
Oh shit. Okay. Gotcha.
So yeah, this way it wouldn't look like I did it. And also, I had taken all my pills out of my
Yeah.
script, so I claimed that they were stolen along with the jewelry.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I went to the hospital and I was like, "You guys got to refill my script. My doctor is 5 hours away."
Yeah.
And they gave me 8, and which of course I'm like, eight's better than 0.
Yeah.
They were like, "That gives you 2 days to get with your doctor to get more," and I'm like, "Shit," like
Yeah. You're like, that's not how I saw that playing out, but
yeah,
okay.
no, that's not
Yeah.
at all how I saw it playing out. It was only 4 or 5 days into the script, and all 120 were gone. Um,
Man.
that was a mess, man. Those were the perk 30s. Those were the days where I was doing the oxycodone 30s of Roxy's. Those
Gotcha.
little blue ones.
Dude, I remember those days. Those days, that's what tripped me up, man. I mean, we've talked about this before, but that's exactly what I got hooked on. So,
Was it the 30 milligram ones?
yeah, yeah, it was the 30s. So,
Yeah.
yep.
Were you snorting them or were you just eating them?
I was doing both. So, I would start my day by eating one and then snorting one. And that's how I was kicking my day off. And then basically every 3 to 4 hours after that, I was doing pretty much the same thing. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's how
that's
I
a rough
spent
time.
yeah, I spent 7 months of my life like that, dude,
I
which
spent 10 years.
I can't believe it. Okay, when I talk to people and I hear that, like, I don't understand. I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't understand how you can do that for 10 years and still be with us, because that I look at the chaos and the amount of carnage and damage I caused in 7 months, and I'm like, if you extrapolate that over a 10-year time period, that's bro, that is insane. That is I mean, thank God you're still here.
It
Like,
is insane. I don't know how. I saw a meme the other day that was like, "Do you think a crack addict stopped smoking crack because they couldn't get money one day? One day they find the money that day to stay high and just
yeah,
have as much hustle as a crack addict, and you'll be rich."
yeah, no shit, dude. Exactly.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know
think
how I was able to afford. I was doing 4 to 8 to 10 a day, and you're talking when I didn't have a script because I would always run out so fast. I
yeah,
would be gone in 5 days and then have to go on the streets for the other 25 days.
man. Could you imagine that in today's scene with fentanyl too?
No,
Like,
that scares
really,
the shit out of me, bro.
same here. Same
Yeah,
here, man. Yep.
it scares me. I haven't had a an opiate in over 6 years,
Fuck yeah, dude.
and I plan on staying that way. When I had my relapse about a year ago that lasted about 9 months, it was on benzos,
Okay.
and I was prescribed them. So I knew where they were coming from. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I wasn't
Yeah,
getting
oh
on
yeah.
the street. And I was smoking a ton of weed, like not even medicating at that point. I was abusing it
Okay.
because my dad passed last June, June 12th. And when that happened, I went straight to just smoking all day long. I never could process, his, he, what did you call it? He progressed so fast with cancer. Like he lived with it for like 11 months before he passed, and he went from like 450 down to like 220 in a year.
Holy shit.
And it wasn't because he was eating right or exercising. It was straight up, cancer just eating away at him.
Yeah.
And he didn't have an appetite because of the cancer, and so he just lost a ton of weight. And I can't bring him back. I can just remember him now. It's been over 4 months since I've smoked weed,
Excellent,
and
dude.
since I took a benzo, April 1st is my new clean date,
Okay.
and
Hell yeah.
so I quit smoking weed and I quit benzos, and I haven't had a drink of alcohol in over 4 years. So I didn't relapse with drinking, at least. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. No, I totally understand that, man. I get it. Plus, I mean, weren't you working a recovery program that involved marijuana?
Yeah,
I think yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
yeah. And I
So,
was and I was using it correctly for a while to where it would like smoke at night to help me sleep and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But then eventually I was just smoking all day long and just straight up getting high and staying high all day.
Okay.
And when you do that, you don't have a chance to actually process anything and learn anything
Yeah.
because you're going straight to smoke the bowl all day long or smoke a joint or, a blunt or a bong. It didn't matter. Like I have a collection of bongs. Like like I said, I have a collection of hats. I have a collection of bongs.
Wow. Do you
I'm
keep that? Like, do you still have that?
yeah,
Is that hard for you?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
no, it's been pretty easy. My wife still smokes. She has MS.
I
So
remember that. Okay.
yeah, so I let her, not that I let her smoke, but I encourage her to smoke still because I know how helpful it is with her. And she respects that I don't smoke anymore, so she tries not to smoke around me.
Okay.
And but there's sometimes like yesterday, I said to her, we were watching like Boardwalk Empire, we're starting to binge watch that. And she was complaining about her hips. I was like, when was the last time you medicated? And she was like, I don't know, 5, 6 hours ago. I said, okay, let's watch it in the bedroom so you can medicate and feel better.
Yeah.
And she doesn't smoke a bong and she doesn't smoke a bowl. She's got one of those dry herb vapes
Okay. I'm
where
not familiar with that,
yeah,
but
it's a vape basically that you put weed into.
okay.
And so, but she's not like lighting a bong or lighting a bowl in front of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not triggering at all,
Okay. That's
which
good
is
to hear,
good.
man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of had to test the boundaries on if I was going to be triggered, and I wasn't at all. Like I got through 420 without smoking weed. It was the first time in 25 years that I've gotten through 420
Yeah.
without smoking weed. And this is the longest I've gone in 25 years without smoking. My previous record was when in 2013 I was on probation for 6 months
Okay.
and for stealing shit. So they don't drug test you when it's a theft in
Wait,
probation.
hold on. You can repeat that, dude. That was not my case. That was not because me completely different. I'll explain after you. Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
they didn't drug test me in probation. Um, I didn't smoke weed the entire time just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
I still use pills because I was prescribed them.
Okay.
So I could piss dirty for them. And I quit smoking weed just in case they drug tested me. And my arrest, my probation was strictly for theft and it wasn't anything drug related. So I paid back the restitution, which was like $4,500.
Yep.
And I did all my 100 hours of community service in 3 months. So within 3 months, I had all my community service done. I wasn't working at the time, so I had plenty of time to do community service.
Okay. Got you.
I did my community service and I paid all the restitution. So after 3 months, my probation officer was like, we're just going to cut it now and take you off probation since you're a first time offender. And since you already paid your rent, he was like, straight up, we would keep you on probation for 6 months if we were drug testing you,
Yeah.
or if you still had to finish your community hours or still had to pay your restitution, then we would leave you on. But since you're not a violent offender, it's your first time, we're going to release you after 3 months. And I was like, bet, like I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. So after I got done, 3 months of probation, I went back to smoking weed again.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't, I I had stolen a bunch of jewelry and pawned it and got caught.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
Xanax, man, Xanax made me steal. I was never a good person on Xanax.
Yeah.
Actually, the day that I sold all of them, I was driving back. It was a 45-minute drive from where I was house sitting that I robbed. I got into 3 car accidents on that 45-minute drive.
What?
Yep.
Was that what was going on, dude? Just adrenaline, or were you
Xanax,
just
Xanax induced.
Xanax induced? Okay.
They were all like fender benders. It
Yeah.
was nothing like a major accident. It was more like 3 fender benders.
Okay.
But 3 different times the cops had to come out, and I had 3 different insurance hits. And yeah, man, and because
Wow.
2 of the 3 were my fault.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a fucked of a day.
That
Like,
is unreal, dude.
so what was your probation? Did you got probation? You know why yours was? Did you go to jail
Yeah, I did.
for a certain
Yeah.
time?
In time? Yeah.
How
Yeah,
much
like
time did you serve?
I did like 7, 8 months in, and then 4 years on paper.
I wonder if yours was different because you had to serve time and your probation was in lieu of time.
See,
Because didn't you have
yeah,
probation to make up for time served?
no, no. What I think happened with me was because I was in law enforcement, and then so this was for that $100,000. I'll go $100,000 painting that I stole exactly. And so essentially, I told them, look, part of the reason why I stole this is because I had substance abuse issues. Like, there's no way I would have taken this damn thing had I not. I wouldn't have saw it as an opportunity. I would have just saw it as a piece of junk and left it there. So anyway, I basically told on myself and said, look, I have these issues, like, beyond what, because they thought, oh, I just stole to try to come up, really, is what the way the DA saw it. I'm like, no, man, I stole to support a habit. I stole to pay my mortgage so I could continue to use. Like, I stole. It was just, it was fucked up. So anyway, the first day I'm on probation, literally the first day they dropped me, and I'm like, okay. So then, like a week later, I got called in for a random, and like it was so front end heavy. And then, like, I didn't get tested for almost 3 years. And then my last year, holy shit, dude. Talk about random, like, they dropped by my house, they called me in, and I'm like, guys, you're just trying to trip me up on something. And they're like,
That's
no. And I'm like, really? So you didn't care for 3 years, but now that I'm coming to the end of it, now it's going to be, it was just bullshit.
They
It
were
was
trying to
like,
get you on a probation violation and give you more time.
that's exactly it. Basically tried to keep me in that cycle, locked in the system. And I'm like, I'm not gonna fall for this. And on top of it, it's like I'm fucking sober. I'm not gonna fuck it up. Like, but part of me, like that fucked up, like not thinking clearly part was like, oh, I kind of want to use just because, like, because they were putting so much pressure on me. It was like in my brain somehow twisted that to be like, oh, maybe I can use, maybe I should use. And then it's like, well, fuck them, I should. And I really had a battle with that. Like, it was this inner monologue that I had going on that I had to fight against, because part of me really just wanted to be like, fuck it, and pick up. And then fortunately I didn't. But I don't know, man. It was hard. I hated probation, especially toward the end, because I'm like, this isn't about me getting better. This isn't about me getting healthy. It wasn't about me paying restitution anymore. It was just like, can we catch you slipping up and keep you on paper longer? Because I had everything done. All the boxes were checked. And it was like that last year was just a nightmare.
Did you have to do community service?
No, I didn't. No, I had to pay a ridiculous amount in restitution, because at first they said I had to pay what they said the painting was, and I had to go back to court over that, over my restitution, and then it got reduced by 90%. So I still owed over $10,000 in restitution, even though I only sold the painting for $1,800, which was kind of, I'm like, who's getting this extra 8,200 in restitution? Like, where is that going? But whatever, you know how that goes. You have to pay it. I mean, you have no, I guess, recourse other than just eat it, pay it, and move on, and try not to be bitter about it, and try not to let that catch you up on something else.
Yeah.
So,
My probation wasn't, I got lucky with what
okay.
I got. It also got expunged from my record too. Uh,
Really?
yeah. And my community service was so easy. I found a VFW that and I would go there on the weekends and I would spend like 2 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday, and the dude would mark me down for 8 hours.
Wow. That's
So
unreal.
I probably did 40, 30 hours in reality, but he marked me down for more, so I was done it a lot quicker.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I definitely, my whole entire probation experience was definitely a lot of luck between the drug test and getting off in 3 months, and the community service aspect of it, because the first community service I tried doing was trash pickup. And this was like November and it was cold as shit. I had to wake up like 5 a.m., you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they only marked the time. So if I did 3 or 4 hours, they would mark down 3 or 4 hours.
Got you.
And then I was told about this VFW, and I'm like, well, let me try that out because I hate fucking doing this trash duty.
Yeah.
And I would go there and just like clean the hall where they have like events. You know how VFWs had the bar end, and
Yep.
then there's like a recreation hall where they hold events like birthday parties and shit like that and rent it out space.
Yeah,
And
weddings, whatever it could be. Yeah.
yeah, I had to mop the floor, put the chairs up, mop the floor, put the chairs back down, set up for parties and shit like that, vacuum around the bar,
Yep.
all simple shit.
Yeah.
So I got definitely lucky when it came to my community service that I found somebody, cool
Oh
that
yeah.
would hook me up, because I've heard of horror stories with community service.
Yeah. Same
So,
here.
and my grandmom covered my restitution. So you know what I mean? That was paid in one check
Wow.
within a week of me starting. So I got lucky on all ends when it came to probation. And I know that because I should have been hit with more, but luckily it was a first offense and it was jewelry at a pawn shop, and it wasn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't breaking and entering because I was house sitting.
I got you. Okay. Yeah,
But
so
I'm
you missed some of those enhancers that would have hit really hard. And
Yep.
yeah, man. Dodged a couple bullets there.
Yeah, I
But
still remember getting arrested though. I was high as shit in my parents' basement where I, slept, and had a little room set up in my parents' basement, and I could hear somebody knocking at the door. You know how a cop knocks? You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
You're a
Yeah.
cop, the cop knock.
Yeah, I know that knock.
And my dad answered the door, and since I'm in the basement, it was an unfinished basement, so it's not like there's a ton of. I could hear a conversation.
Yeah.
And then my dad called for me, and they're like, we got it. And the worst part was I had to go 45 minutes in the back of a cop car to get all the way to their police station.
Ugh.
It wasn't like the local police station. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had to go
Yep.
back to town where I stole from. So it was a 45-minute ride in the back of their car with my hands handcuffed behind my back. And in that time, my dad picked up my grandmom and drove her down, and she put up the $10,000 bail
Whew.
um, to keep me from actually going to county.
Okay.
So, like, I got extremely lucky when it came to how I got arrested, how I got out so fast, and I wasn't arrested again for 5 more years. And that time, they tried throwing the book at me.
Okay.
Um, they followed me from my dealer's house, and they pulled me over in a school zone, and they found 20 perk 30s on me,
Ooh.
and they're like, this is intent to distribute in a school zone. I'm like, no, this is my personal stash because
Yeah.
I have a problem with drugs. You
Yeah.
guys pull me over in the school zone.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
they still wrote it up, intent to distribute in a school zone. So when I went to court, I told the judge, I didn't get a lawyer. I
Okay.
represented myself. And I was like, well, this is what happened. I went to jail. not to jail. I got taken in. They're like, if you basically rat, we'll let you leave. But you gotta do controlled buys. You gotta do 3 controlled buys for us just to prove that you're getting them. So I did that because fuck that dude, and I didn't care. And he's in jail right now, so I'm not worried about him seeing this.
Okay, gotcha.
So I did those buys for him, and I went to my hearing, and then 2 weeks later I went to rehab. And I wasn't going to rehab to avoid jail. I was going to rehab because I was ready because I had a problem and I wanted to. Like, I forgot I even got arrested when I was on my flight out there and I landed and I was on my way to rehab. And they're like, so you ever been arrested? And I'm like, oh shit, I got to call. I got court in 2 weeks. I got to call them and tell them that I'm in a, rehab facility.
Exactly.
So they put it off for 9 months, my court date. And when I went to court finally, I told the judge, listen, I'm clean and sober 9 months. I'll go on drug court and I'll pass all the drug tests. I was working an intense program, going to 2 meetings a day. I go to every day at noon. I go at 8:00 at night every day. I was like, so I'll pass all your drug tests. I'll do whatever you need me to do. I was like, I wasn't intent to distribute in a school zone. I got followed from my dealer's house, and then they pulled me over in the school zone. It wasn't intent to distribute because I was buying them all for my personal use because I had a drug problem.
Yep.
And the judge was like, well, it's your lucky day. I'm going to give you a fine of $300 and you can leave.
Whoa. Wow.
So without a lawyer.
Jeez.
So I got extremely lucky that I went to rehab and I was already doing those things, because I feel like if I would have went in front of the judge while I was still high, then they would have looked at me.
Exactly. I think you're right. I think you're dead on there. Like, being proactive, going to rehab, getting out in front of it the best you could only helped you. I mean,
he straight up said to me, did you go to rehab to avoid jail? And I said, no, honestly, judge, I forgot that I even got arrested because I was so high back then. Yeah. And he like almost chuckled. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was like, oh, okay, well, I didn't expect you to be that honest. Right. I'm working in an honest program, so I'm going to be extremely honest with you. And I think he saw how sober I was and how clean cut I was. And because I got a haircut before, you know what I mean? I went there to shirt and tie. And he was like, you didn't want a lawyer? I'm like, what's the lawyer going to do? You're going to tell me whatever it is, and I'm going to take whatever you give me. I was like, I don't need a lawyer to hear you give me a sentence. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was like, well, I appreciate all your honesty, and then you can go. And I was like, holy shit. I was at least expecting probation or to pay a huge fine. So I definitely, I know that I got lucky when it comes down to it.
Oh, for sure, dude. See, like, I was always the one thing, and that's part of the reason why I wrote My Life with Karma, was my attorney, I never got to state my side of the case. He basically was like, no, just pretty much told me, be quiet, don't disclose anything. I'll work with the DA. And then when it came out, it's like, dude, I wasn't happy with the representation I had at all. I felt like he just stood on my throat and basically said, hey, shut up, and didn't really do much. And then he told me he was concerned about preserving his relationship with the DA. And I'm like, what does that do for my case? Like, where does that put me? That doesn't help me at all. So you're worried about your golf game with him, and here I am, like, I'm just going to eat it. Like, it was shitty. Like, my whole experience with that painting was just, it was hard because I knew I was getting railroaded, and it's like, I didn't have the money to get the attorney that I wanted. So, and the attorney that I had was doing nothing for me. And in that situation,
for those who haven't seen you before, Give a little rundown of the painting, this way people can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, for anyone who isn't familiar, like I was working dignitary protection for the Wisconsin State Capitol Police, and I was assigned to the executive residence. So essentially, what happened was one of our governors was not going to run again. He had served his how many terms, and he's like, "I'm done. I'm retiring." So they're moving out. And while they're moving out, they're purging a ton of stuff because I think he served either 8 or 12 years. Can't remember, really doesn't matter, but long enough, they collected a lot of stuff. So they're getting rid of stuff, sending it to Goodwill, to various places, throwing stuff away. And they told us as staff, we could look through it and anything we wanted, we could take. We just had to write it down on this ledger. So I'm like, all right, no big deal. So one night while I'm working a third, I'm bored as shit. And I'm going through some of their stuff and I find this painting. And I was like, I didn't think much of it aside from it had this really cool, ornate, like carved gold frame. And I'm like, okay, the painting's ugly as shit, but I can use this frame for something. Like, this is cool. So I took it, wrote down on the ledger, signed my name. I think I took that, like a travel mug and something else. So comes out 4 years later, this painting is missing from state property. And essentially, they went online, found it for sale in an art gallery in, I think, New Hampshire is where I sold it. So I sold it online to an art gallery. They found it. They tracked down the dealer who had it, who said, yeah, here's who I bought it from. I mean, it wasn't like I tried to hide anything. I thought I obtained it in a legal manner. So I was like, why would I try to lie about this? So he just turned over the emails to them and said, here you go. Here's everything that he had to say about the painting. And I was living in Arizona at the time. And across the bottom of the Today Show, they put on their ticker, former police officer steals $100,000 painting. And that's actually how I found out. I got a call from my mom because she was freaking out, worried that I might have some connection to it. And of course, it was like, here we fucking go again. So I ended up pleading guilty to stealing the painting, even though I didn't technically steal it, because I was facing, if I would have lost the case, I was facing 21 years in jail over that painting. So, well, not in jail, in prison, but yeah. So it wasn't worth fighting it. Basically, they built up the charges, and it was like, look, no matter what, I was pretty much I was gonna come out of it with nothing, or I was gonna come out of it with a couple felonies and 21 years. And it was like, I'll take the 4 years on paper and the one felony and just, go with it and make the most of it. Today,
How long ago was that? How long ago was that now?
Now that's, oh my gosh. I've been off paper for almost 3 years. So 7.5, almost 8 years. Yeah. Yeah, man.
And how much clean time do you have now? I think you had like 9 the first time you were on here.
Yeah, I'll be at 11 years in October. So
that's fucking awesome, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been quite the freaking journey. So,
and now you're a dad.
Now I'm a dad, yeah, and a recovery coach. And man, and I just got it's crazy. Wisconsin Voices for Recovery, which is pretty big in our state, they just nominated me. I found out about 2 weeks ago for a recovery advocacy award in the state of Wisconsin, which is unreal considering my reputation at one time in this state was such dog shit that I never thought anything like this would happen. Like, to even be nominated is, I don't think I have a chance in winning because like there's some big basically players that were also nominated, but just to have my name up there is like, it's cool. And it made me feel like I try not to get too high or too low, but I had one of those moments where I had some pride and I felt pretty good about it. I'm like, dude, I'm changing people's lives, and it's good to have that recognized every now and then.
The
Not to the point.
recognition. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Just
It's
have.
always validating.
Yep, that's thank you. That's what I was just gonna say. That's exactly it. So, yeah, man. And then outside of that, basically Monday through Friday, except for on Wednesdays, he goes to his grandma's. I have my son during the day, and then I recovery coach at night. So we hang out, do cool shit all day, go to parks, go to children's museums, libraries, stuff like that. And then once his mom gets done with work, then I change gears and go into coaching mode for like 3 to 4 hours.
Now, do you go through like a certain company to do that, or do you like freelance? How does that work?
No, so I freelance. And I'm all pro bono at this point in time. I haven't accepted money from anyone since I began coaching last February. So, and basically, I mean, I'm in a position where I can do that, fortunately, with my wife working in the field she works in. And I realized really what I saw, JD, was people that need help a lot of the times, especially early in recovery or when they're just kind of getting out of like an IOP or something, dude, they don't have money to pay a recovery coach.
Yeah.
Like it just, for most people, that just doesn't happen. And I'm like, look, we're missing an opportunity to continue to help people, continue to give them that kind of gap filler, that bridge until they get more time, they get to feel the greatness that recovery can give you, but you got to give them a chance. And I'm like, that's where I feel like my coaching service comes in, because I hop in and I kind of fill that gap between like IOP and meetings or whatever it may be, and just try to get people over that hump and keep them engaged in recovery.
And how do you find the people? Is it like through your old rehab, or do people
Um,
send you like recommendations like, hey, help out Charlie because I went to rehab with him and he needs help? Like, how do you get clients?
Awesome question. So basically, it's mostly referral so far. I've it's people who have worked with me in the past, counselors who have worked with me, and then who now it's interesting because it's like the dynamic has changed. It's like, so now they're referring to me for post recovery stuff, and I'm referring to them early on when someone's like, look, man, I have 3 hours I need. And it's like, okay, I have a clinic that I work with now that I feel really strongly about, that just opened, and it's a harm reduction clinic. So they're actually more prone to meet people exactly where they're at, as opposed to being like, well, you have to have X amount of time sober. Like,
Yeah, you can't be
yeah,
on MAT or any of those stipulations where some people would be like, oh, I'm not going to help them because they're on, and people don't know MAT is like methadone, Suboxone, marijuana. They're
yep,
all, medically assisted treatments.
yep,
That's what MAT,
exactly.
people that don't know what MAT is. So that's really cool that you get to do that with harm reduction, because there's a ton of people that aren't getting help because they're on methadone or because they're on Suboxone.
Exactly, dude. Or because for example, let's use marijuana too. I mean, I look at that as, I know someone who manages chronic migraines with it. Now, do I want to tell them stop smoking because this works for you and take a different medication, maybe even have to take Botox for chronic migraines when you've found something that works? It doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
there's some scenarios where it's just like, dude, why would you break what is working because you want to say, okay, this person needs to be 100% sober? I don't believe I think you have to look at it case by case. And I don't believe there's this one size fits all kind of recovery program for people. And that's why I really, like I said, I was really happy to find harm reduction in my area. And it's the only one that I know of in the state of Wisconsin, actually.
It's kind
And
of ironic because I was at the doctor's earlier for chronic migraines.
there you go, dude. Right?
And now that you mention the weed, maybe that's where it's coming from that I stopped smoking 4 months ago.
Could be, man. Could
Because
be.
they were looking for a reason, and I didn't have like a legitimate reason of why I've been getting them. They started really like I probably had migraines once a month before.
Okay.
You know, but this time it's been since Thursday, and I've almost been like to the point where I'm nauseous because of it hurting so bad. Like it was affecting my teeth, how bad it hurt.
Whew.
So, and it wasn't my teeth affecting my migraine. It was the opposite, where my migraine was affecting my teeth. And that shit sucked. They gave me some kind of inject. My wife laughed because she's like, "Well, what did they give you?" And I was like, "I don't know, Benadryl, some kind of shot, and Zofran to put under my tongue for nausea." She was like, "Well, what was in the shot?" I was like, "Fuck if I know."
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. It was some cocktail they gave me.
Yeah,
to help.
just yeah. They literally called it a cocktail. What she was like, "We're just gonna give you a cocktail of things, and hopefully one of them works, if not all of them." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Wow.
She's like, "We're gonna give you an injection of and some weird name, and I don't remember it." And I was like, "Okay, just do it." She was like, "How are you with needles?" I'm like, "Well, I got 55 tattoos. How do you think I am with needles?" I was like, "You can stick me. I don't care."
Yeah.
But I am starting to feel better already, though, which is good. It's a relief because I hated that shit.
Yeah. Yeah. See, with my brain injury, I suffer from chronic migraines, and I'm medication free. I have been for almost a year because some of the side effects from some of the meds they tried to give me were just, dude, they were basically as bad, if not worse, than the migraines. So, I feel for anyone that suffers chronic migraines because I get it. I live it. I get about 1 to 2 a week. Um, my problem is I get horrible vertigo with mine. So it's like I'll get to the point where I walk almost like I'm drunk because I feel like the whole world's shifting on me, and
Yeah,
it's not fun.
my
And
wife
then
gets vertigo from her MS. She gets really bad vertigo.
yeah,
So I've seen the impact on what that can do to somebody where like you can't even like sometimes sit up without feeling like the world's spinning.
exactly.
How long ago did you suffer from your TBI? I feel like that was in your addiction that happened.
Yeah, it was, yeah, 2013.
So
So
that was right before you got clean.
yeah, that's actually what put me in, well, first the hospital, but then after that jail, and that's where I started my clean time. So
And that was from being hit by a cop, right?
no, not by a cop, by a citizen,
With
um,
the big
with
mag light.
with a big Maglite flashlight, one of the cop flashlights. Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
was saying. That's what I knew it was something to do with cops. And that
yeah.
was refresh my memory.
I was,
You were you
I
were
was,
drunk.
oh, dude, I was, yeah, I was definitely drunk. I did a Long Island special after softball on a Thursday, and just drank to the point where I don't remember. I don't remember how
Oh,
many I
you're
had.
blacking out. You have 3 LITs and you're blacking out.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I from what I kind of recall, I think I was around that 6 mark, and I had some shots in there too. And I don't know, like I decided after the bar was like a mile from my house. It was 2 turns. So I'm like, I can drive this home. Like I'll be all right. And the second turn, I over accelerated, crashed my car into a curb, got out, went, threw up on the side of a neighbor's house, had a pissed, came back, was just trying to like looked at my car, tried to drive it off the curb. The front axle was done. Then leaned up against another car, just trying to basically not throw up again, set off a car alarm, all hell broke loose. I tried to hide behind a car because a neighbor came out with a flashlight and was shouting all sorts of obscenities. And I was like, oh, I'll hide. That's brilliant. So he eventually, what happened was I slid into the front seat of an unlocked car, locked the doors, and tried to stay low, hoping he would just go back in his house. He saw me, came over, banged on the door, told me to get the fuck out of the car, told me he was going to beat my ass, all this shit. And I just left the car door locked. I'm like, nah, not going to happen, dude. Well, eventually he calmed down and I was like, okay, I can safely get out of the car. When I got out, he said I lunged at him. And to this day, I attest I just took a drunk stumble and he proceeded to beat me with the Maglite flashlight. Fractured my skull in 3 places and basically just did all sorts of damage. Broken orbital bone, broken nose. I broke the upper palate of my mouth. Just all sorts of senseless violence, really.
And he got,
And
I'm sure he didn't have any repercussions for that.
no, because in the police report, he articulated that he was afraid for his safety. So yeah. And I'm sure that cops helped him with that. Yeah. So
It's a good thing you weren't in a like stand my ground state and you could have been shot.
Oh, dude, hands down. Yeah, you're 100% correct. I've thought about that to this day. And yeah, so basically I got knocked out, woke up, and I was on the curb in handcuffs, just bleeding. And I didn't even know what happened. And they're like, well, we're going to take you to the hospital. We think you have a concussion. I'm like, all right. So I got to the first hospital. They ran some tests and they said, you need to go to a different hospital. We're not fit to deal with you here. You have brain swelling. You're probably going to have to go to immediate surgery. So they took me to a different hospital. And then the next morning, I had 2 surgeries, one to fix this whole side of my face, and then one to expel the air from my brain cavity. And that's basically how I got my TBI. So,
well, yeah, I'm glad that you are where you are now. 11 years coming up in October, and hopefully 11 more to come. And I know it's a daily thing where, all we have is today, the cliches.
Oh, yeah.
And, you're a dad, you have more things to stick around for without having to worry about a relapse. Yeah. And you're doing fucking awesome, man. Proud of you.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And I appreciate seeing you and your honesty and just, dude, thank you. Because, I mean, as I tell people this a lot, and I wrote about this, like, for me to get healthy, I had to be transparent. I couldn't lie my way through it. As much as I wanted to, as much as that felt comfortable, couldn't fucking do it. Wouldn't happen. As soon as I started telling people the truth and being real with myself and others, that's when I actually got help. So the fact you're doing that, man, that's incredible, because that's one of the hardest parts, I think, personally, because we get so used to telling lies, and then even to ourselves, the stories we tell ourselves,
manipulating other people and manipulating your own mind.
Exactly, man.
Like the first time I did a 4th step, when I went through the steps 6 years ago, most of my resentments were against myself for things that I've caused in my own life. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, dude.
I didn't resent any family for where I was at in that specific situation, and I still don't to this day. And if you want to check out My Life with Karma, it's a great book. It's on Amazon. Just type in My Life with Karma, and you'll see plenty of positive results in there, because I see you have a ton of comments all the time in there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Check it out. And if you're in the Wisconsin area and need somebody to be a recovery coach, Travis has you there too.
Thank you, JD. Yeah, man, I got that covered. And if I don't have it covered, I can definitely refer you to someone that will. I mean, that's my big thing. Like, I know I'm not a great fit for everyone, and I'm not afraid to right away say, hey, look, I may not be able to help you, but I know someone who can, and let's get you headed in that direction. I think that's another thing we need more in recovery spaces. So often we see people fighting over funding, people fighting over grants, people fighting over whatever it may be. And it's like, fuck, dude, let's fight over who can give the best treatment. Let's fight over who can literally give the best referrals. I mean, it gets to me sometimes, because I feel like a lot of people in this space have lost sight of why they originally got into it. And it's like, man, if you had those reminders, maybe things would be a little different. But yeah, I don't know, man. I keep trying to change it, just one person at a time, one conversation at a time. So
that's all you can really do, bro.
Exactly.
All right, well, have a good day, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
you too, man. Thank you
Same.
again for your time. See you,
No
brother.
problem. Thanks for coming on.